Good morning to all. I think it is, Karine, it is 85 here. Actually, let's check. We have two storms coming our way. For those of you outside of the U.S., we're getting ready for 79 right now. 79 degrees. So we're preparing for a storm, and it is, hello, Victoria, Lilibeth, Karine. We're preparing for a tropical storm, which could become a hurricane. So that's what after I get off done here, I'm going to do, I'm going to talk with my exec team about making preparations for the hotel. Good morning, Bonnie. Who has the latest time zone right now? This is Central Time here in the USA, South USA. Mushroom coffee is at hand. We'll let people trickle in here. Does the sunlight make you more hungry? No, I would say the opposite. It makes you more full. The healing powers of the sun are metabolism. Karine, the more sun you get, obviously without overexposing yourself. You don't want to burn cause yourself undue sun damage and rays. The sun is powerful. Yeah, I'm going to do a video on this. Your bowel movements will be more regular. Your energy levels will be higher. Your satiety levels will be a little bit higher. Now, if you are getting sun and you're more active, rather than getting hungrier, it'll actually help you offset a lot of what would be just a whole lot of hunger. Phoenix, Arizona. Welcome, honey. But that is what you'll notice, you guys, on the sunlight. It doesn't have to be direct. Just being out and getting UV rays helps you generate vitamin D naturally. And vitamin D, as you will notice, most people are deficient in. And this is why people who end up with autoimmune disorders and end up with hypothyroid and end up with a lot of conditions, they're chronically low vitamin D because the crap supplements they take don't give them anything back. They're just really not, hello, Regina, they're not beneficial. If you get sunlight regularly, if you walk, even if it's indirect sunlight, like on a cloudy day, you stay out for a while, you'll find that you'll have bowel movements where you can literally just induce one yourself. And this is actually a cheat, a way to tell if you are staying ahead of what you're eating. One of the things when people's metabolism slows down and they get low vitamin D levels is they end up, anytime they have too much food, they carry it with them for like 3 to 5 days. They don't get back to where they should be. If your metabolism is working properly and you go out and splurge, you will actually see that you get back to baseline quickly after a couple days of fasting. And you might even be lighter, like I said in my earlier videos. But if you're not, then it'll make you heavier for 10 days. That's a sign your metabolism is too slow. And that's one of the biggest recommendations. Get vitamin D from the sun. Use the drops if you're going to supplement, if you live in a part of the world where you don't get a lot of sunlight. And you'll see that it makes all the difference in the world. It's just like apple cider vinegar. Regina, honey, K-Tatal, please forgive me if I'm not. K-Tal? I'm not sure. Hello, welcome. Having a cup of Joe. Yes. Hey, Josh. Good to see you. I just got your text a little bit ago. So Honey says, been doing Holland. Let's see. Good luck pronouncing it. Winter's Whisk. Oh, God. I don't even know. Is it what's the weather like in Holland? Karine, I think you mentioned it's sunny. No, wait, yeah, sunny, 23 degrees and a few clouds. Okay, so it's pretty on the level. A lot of places are, it's kind of like any area in the 23. You guys are using Celsius. That drives me nuts. We use Fahrenheit, so we'll say 82 degrees, or we'll say you guys are using Celsius. So when it's freezing, you'll say minus 30, and it'll be like 12 degrees Fahrenheit. So we're having to do that in our. It's like a stone versus pounds. It's kind of crazy. All right, let me get to Honey's question, and we'll get started here. It looks like we have people arriving. Taneka, welcome. Have been doing OMAD consistently for 3 weeks this August, and on and off at the end of July. I've been at the same weight for this time. It fluxes down, then back up to the same weight. I don't prepare food. Okay, be more consistent and go lower calorie. If you need to, do a mono meal style. And I have a video coming on this maybe today if I can be lucky about it. Mono meal. Do something simple that your body can digest. Have a small portion. And for the first week, do very low calories, like about 500 to 600. And then after that, gradually scale up. Aim for consistency at all costs. You will break in and you will start losing. Eliminate any gratuitous sugars or any processed stuff that's junk, if for the only reason being that it makes you more hungry. You want stability. I'm serious. Just go crazy. If you've been at the same weight and it goes up and down, then the higher weight, the weight that you go back to is your real weight. Remember that. That's always true. The weight you go back to is your real weight. Everybody's had that. I've had that. You're going to get to a point where you hover around. I still hover around about 205. So it'll go up. Now I can get lower than that, but I don't need to anymore. I don't really have stock in losing anymore at this point. I'm more interested in being functional, working out, and just as OMAD Dad did a really good video here a while back on self-monitoring. Go watch that if you guys are not subscribed to OMAD Dad. I think most of you are, but he did a good one on self-monitoring. You always have to self-monitor. You don't always have to lose, but you will always self-monitor. Honey says, I'm around 205 too. Is it where you want to be? If not, then let's get to work on it. You guys can bust, and remember, you can make it a mission, and you can absolutely do it. And the harder you go at first, the more likely you are to succeed, because your body's going to be forced to adjust. That's why there may actually be an advantage to going low calorie when you start. There really is an advantage, I think, but with going really low calorie when you start. So, what kind of coffee are you guys drinking? I have HEB Arabic Classic coffee here. Put in the comments what kind of coffee you're drinking. Thank you, Tanika. I appreciate that. That's the whole point of this channel, is to get people started in the right direction. I don't really nap, and the reason being, it affects my sleep. I'm not one of these people that takes cat naps throughout the day. That said, I don't never take a nap. If I feel like taking a nap, I will, but that's like once, I don't know, every 3 months, if I'm home and I'm bored and I just want to lay around because I don't have anything to do. Yeah, Karine, you don't drink coffee. Okay, I think you mentioned that elsewhere. Yeah, if you can make that work for you, that's great. That's I get bored. I need a little more stimulation, so I'll cheat with diet sodas and coffee and stuff like that. I had a big burdock tea with super greens in it yesterday. I nearly brought that to this morning I just put a little bit of green powder in it sometimes to give it a little earthier taste. I've gotten used to it. I used to didn't like it. I think Karine's doing carnivore, right? Or some sort of low carb. NYC Bronx. Hey, Joe, you up early? I did a 4-day water fast. Yeah, I got up early. I got up around 6 or 7. So I've actually, I just got out, you can tell, I just got out of the shower. I just ran in here and jumped online. I didn't put too much thought to it. So now on egg diet, eating 1 meal a day. Only eggs? Ooh. So I gather the surgery is weight loss surgery that you're going for. I wouldn't recommend it. Any sort of weight loss surgery, if indeed that's the case, Bronx. As far as egg dieting, I wouldn't restrict yourself to it. Hey, Deb, how's it going? Glad to see you could make it. Yes, you finally caught me live. Debbie Omad in the house. But Bronx, I wouldn't. Yeah, I would. I mean, if you want to do, if you want to start out with eggs, I would, but I wouldn't be too strict with that, and I would start to transition to other things that you know you can manage. As far as you can easily drop 30 pounds, I have no doubt at all, very quickly, depending on your size, and if you're going for surgery, you're probably up there. I'd reach out actually. I'd like to know more about your predicament. Josh says, have you found your sleep is eventually less or better during the fast? I don't know if I can say that or not. I know people have said that. I can't. I've always slept pretty well. There are times when I didn't sleep well, and I know that I was kept up because my body was hungry and I was searching for food. But that I would say gets better if I had to pick an option. Josh, I don't see it as being an issue. Kareen, watch your cholesterol with that. If you're eating organ meats, particularly, honestly, and you may be one of those that it doesn't seem to bother, but I would be very careful with that. I know that the benefit is that you won't have any sugar cravings. You'll eventually get past cramps and sugar cravings and things like that. The advantage on certain carnivore-ish meals is that you end up finding out what you're allergic to. A lot of people who do too many legumes and breads, they end up finding out that they got addicted to something, or they ended up finding out that they were allergic to something. So they started. If I eat too many legumes, I start to itch. I can tell my hands itch, and then when I lay off them just a little while, even a little, I find that I'm doing really well. I go right back. Like my body can handle it. But if I get too much breads and pasta, I don't feel as well. So while I'm not a carnivore and I don't recommend it, I do see monomealing, the value of monomealing with meats. And this is one of the reasons I'll never be one of those who are against meats, because it can help get away from trouble foods. And the advantage of a flesh food is that it's already digested. It's already been gone through the process of the natural plant protectors. The anti-nutrients have been removed. So I can see why you do what you do. I would just be very cautious. I would probably work to transition it to more normal eating eventually. But that's me, Kareem. Victoria just did morning weigh-in. I'm up 1.9. I'm eating too much, I think. I have severe sleep apnea. So I gotta tighten it up so I can keep losing. You'll know if you're eating too much because you're gonna feel more full after the meal. If you're able during the meal to just get up very easily and go about your day and you don't feel encumbered, that's good. You want to be able to say, I can stop eating right now and still be productive. If you know you're going to be tired, then you're eating too much. That's the quick and dirty way to do that. So, but I hope that helps with those of you who think you're eating too much. Of course, once you notice that you just kind of barely coat your stomach, you're going to be hungrier later. That's good. That's how you know you're playing no nonsense with your body. Sleep apnea. I know that most people with sleep apnea, it's that their brain is too involved and not at peace with things. And I should do a video on this because I know people, and though I don't have this trouble, I know people who they just struggle with the daily events of their lives. Sometimes they do a whole lot of. All right, but that is usually it's an issue of your mind. in somehow, some way. But it also may be related to something you're doing. I know that if I get caffeine, I do 2 cups of coffee a day now. If I do more than that, I won't sleep well. Even so, I got to make sure that my last one is not after maybe 1 or 2 p.m. because it will stay with me, and I will notice that I sit and turn in bed. I get angry. I get cranky. I feel compressed because that's what caffeine does. I'm not one of these people who don't have. I'm not one of these people who don't feel the effects of coffee. I do. I definitely do. The coffee is hot, 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 hot. I have to use a straw. I know it looks kind of weird, but I do. Karine, you're on an autoimmune. You're dealing with an autoimmune disease, so it's a different ballgame. So I understand exactly what you're doing. I understand. Ahmed, welcome. Welcome to the party here. Big fan. Lost 30 pounds from OMAD last year, fallen off and gained it back. Trying to get back, but it's way harder this time. Don't know why. Well, I'll tell you why. Your body doesn't know the difference. So your sympathetic nervous system gears you up to try to prevent it again. Remember, it doesn't know. It's dumb. It's people get mad at me for saying the body is dumb, but it's the reason for it is your body just thinks you're going to die. It's always saying, oh no, we're going to die. Oh no, we're going to die. Oh no, your blood cells. Oh no, we're going to die. Same message. So it's going to make it harder for you. But if you get serious and you quit and you quit messing around, you can do it. Go small meals, small, very small meals when you start out. Transition into more normal meals. Track your calories because it makes it easier. At least that's what I recommend for people who are struggling with getting started. This happens. It's a reaction of your body because your body, as far as your body's concerned, you may never eat again. That's why a squirrel buries its nuts. You see it in the backyard. A little squirrel comes down the tree, starts burying their nuts because their autonomic defense system says we need to do this to defend ourselves. That's why it's instinct to blink when something comes at your face. Because your body has to be this way in order to keep you alive. At least so it thinks. But you have to talk yourself into it. You have to say, look, I know what we're doing. We're not going to starve. You have to just talk to it. You have to make peace with it. But ultimately, you have to suffer through it. Coffee from Costco, Peru coffee. You know what, Josh? My dad has that same kind. He bought a case of it from Costco last week. I think it's the one you're talking about. Karine says 0 sugar cravings. Yes, but there are some carbs in liver, I think. Well, you're not going to be able to run from them forever. I would be satisfied if no processed food, no breads and processed foods. I think you're good with that. Lungs, oh God, girl, you're way ahead of. I'll just admire from afar. Okay. 5'11". So Bronx says I'm 5'11". And I weigh 265. Now that doesn't seem that heavy for your surgery. Is this? Do you care to comment? Is this a weight loss surgery, or I wouldn't think it would be? Is it, or is this some other surgery that you're because you're fairly? That's a fairly tall for an average person. That's, I don't really know more than that, but yeah, it makes it difficult because there's so much fat around your organs, and that's why it's tough when you go to do a surgery. They want you to lose weight, and that's why they love it. Doctor, it makes it so much easier when a patient doesn't have complications, regardless of what kind of surgery it is. Hey, Fonz, good to see you. Chlorella, yes, I tried chlorella yesterday. I have actually a bag called Sunbest Super Greens, and I'm not a greens person. You guys know I really don't like salads. I don't like dark leafy greens that everybody keeps touting retardedly. But I do take a pinch and I put it in when I cook rice now. It makes a light green color, and I take it with some tea and I just stir it in there, and it is chlorella and spirulina. So that's how I get it occasionally. And I'm not one of these people who do it very often, but I do. I have started doing that. And you know what? It just brings an earthy taste. I don't really mind it. Deb says, I also find I don't sleep well in the evening. I'm right there with you. I don't sleep well. I feel I have weird, goofy, psychedelic dreams. I don't know what that is. Anybody want to comment on what they think that is? Why some of us don't handle food at night? I've heard a lot of the warrior diet people said their strict warrior diet. They say you should eat and then go to sleep at night. I've tried it. It's hard to do. Much better on an empty stomach. I fully agree. Karine says, I have high cholesterol. And the problem is if you're eating organ meats, you're dealing with stuff that's way higher than dark skinned chicken or dark meat chicken. I would worry about that because that means it's going to put down, it's going to increase, just because you're not fat doesn't mean it's not putting down fat particles in your blood, because that's getting in your blood. You're not like a bear. Now, a bear does not have to worry. If you guys are wondering how a bear can eat seal meat, because they have acidity of 0, meaning they have acidity that is we're 11 as human beings, so we cannot digest those fats as well, and that's the problem. That's why it's going to end up in your bloodstream. That's the only thing I would be concerned with if I were you. Hello, Martin. Hello, Jennifer. Are you on insulin, Jennifer? Josh is a type 2 as well, for those of you who've seen his comments before. Every diabetic is different, so I need you to reach out to me. A lot of diabetics who start OMAD immediately go right into check by eating one small controlled portion per day and no sugars after that. And don't drink your calories. That's a good rule for diabetics, for anyone, but it's definitely good for diabetics. Have you started on OMAD, Jennifer? Every diabetic, and some diabetics are still going to have trouble. But you'll know if it's simple diabetes because your body will repair itself quickly, like within 2 weeks to a month. If it's not that, then it is more of a your body thing. It's kind of an autoimmune thing. And I have a theory that is not accepted by the medical community, that type 1 and 2, the distinction between type 1 and 2 is really not is really all the same, because people that are truly diabetic will need insulin eventually. People who are not can be treated with simple measures. There's hardly an in-between. That's kind of how I've seen it, because I've seen too many people who start out having trouble, and if they can't instantly reverse it, they're going to have to just treat it. They're not going to be able to control it. But I'm going to need you to reach out to me, because I'll need more details from you on what is your blood glucose in the morning when you're fasting. Fasting blood glucose has everything to do with, it has everything in the world to do with your ability to see if you're autoimmune. So if you are in the morning and you're like 110, 115, 120, and you haven't even eaten anything, that is a sign that you have a liver issue, which is autoimmune diabetes. And again, I don't care what a doctor says. A doctor can say anything, but you're going to find that most of them cannot help, other than give you oral meds or tell you to lose weight if that's an issue for you. Some people, it's not an issue. I've known a guy who's 24 years old. He works for a TSA. He's got, six-pack abs. This guy doesn't have an ounce of fat on him, and he cannot control his blood sugar. He's now on insulin. Sure as hell didn't eat sweets. It's just something that some people have. The same way some people are short and some people are tall. And you have to look at it that way. Yours, I don't know. If you've worn your body out from eating too much, it'll reverse itself quickly. That's what the body does. It reverses itself quickly. How long have you struggled with it? These are all questions we would need to go on. 2 p.m. Victoria says, that is a good meal time. Mine is between 11:30 and 2:30 right now, my meal time. I don't eat before, and I seldom eat after. Even now that I don't worry as much about it. Karine says, at Fawn's, chlorella is full of oxalates. That's true. That's true with all of the leafy greens, but a lot of people don't have will deal with oxalates just fine as long as they're getting enough water. The properties of something like chlorella do increase vitamin D, but they also have they increase vitamin D absorption along with the sensitivity to the sun. My experience with and research on stuff like that has indicated that most people don't have a problem with it. If somebody does, they have a problem with kidney stones, and I would agree with you. Stay with a meat and potatoes diet, or in my case, a meat and potatoes diet. Stay with a basically animal-based diet, or close to, and then keep the meal portions low, because some people don't handle it as well. I know what you mean there. They don't handle it as well. But your mealtime makes an absolute difference. I don't really get any hunger pains, so I most likely overeat. Victoria, that's a habit. That's something because people start to feel that they are not getting enough. And so what they do is they start overeating. And then they get a meal where they're at 1,600 calories, but they only need 1,700 to be back to maintenance. So you're not going to lose much, if at all, at that rate. And then occasionally the day comes along, they get 2,200 calories. Well, now they're back into, they're going to gain weight again, and it's going to net average. Look at your week. If you had a couple days with too many calories, look at your net average for the week, Monday through Monday. You're now going 7 days, and how many days did you get way higher than your maintenance? That's how you tell. You're going to net higher. But if you're still overall lower, you won't gain weight. And that's how you could splurge every 2 weeks easily, and you still will have less calories than if you did it twice or 3 times a week, which is why if you do track calories or else have really small controlled portions, you won't have to worry about that. And you'll be able to manage. So that's how you get to the end of the week, you found you still lost weight. I went to eat a week ago with my parents. I still didn't gain any weight. I went to 2 Mexican restaurants, really good. Lots of hot sauce, lots of chips, very high calorie. But day after the next, I was still, my weight on the scale was still actually down, or the same or down. Despite all that overeating, the next day it was down more, because your body is going to keep a running tally of your intake, because it's always burning fat. And it's always using, if you tell it to. But if you're getting too much too regularly, you're going to have a problem. Nick Bronx says, how long do you think it's going to take for me to lose the 30 pounds if I eat 1 meal a day? What food do you prefer? Well, it depends on what you like. What do you really like that makes you feel like you love the world? That's the question. Me, I'll go in there, and you guys have seen, I'm a meat and potatoes person. I can go and make sausage and fries. I can go and make a rice and starches. I can go more of a vegan approach. I can do anything, whatever I want that day. One of my favorite things, I'll put together black beans and pasta and just have a nice meal with a cut up apple or something. The next day I'll have some deer sausage. But you keep those portions small, you will kick the crap out of 30 pounds. That will not be hard at all. If you're 265 and you've got some to lose, you can completely destroy it. I would aim for about 900 to 1,100 calories a day for the next 30 days, next 60 days. You will completely, well, not even that, just 30 days, and then up into about 1,200, 1,300. You will completely trounce those pounds. I can guarantee you just about. Even with metabolic disorders, you'll do that easily. Don't keep meticulous track of it. Treat it like you're dismantling a bomb. How serious do you guys take your OMAD? If you're going to dismantle a bomb, you're like, I have to have concentration. One slip up could cost me my life. You'll do it. But you have to take it seriously. You can't go in there and say, well, I'll work out when I get to it. I'll eat when I get to it. You got to take it like it's the biggest, most important thing in your life. Oh. I guarantee you can do it, Bronx. I have faith. You'll just slide right through it. Just be serious about it. Expect hunger. Expect it to be hard, but you know you're going to do it. See, Josh is a shift worker, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. I know how it is, man. Many years of having done it. Having the meal at 4 p.m. has helped tremendously. So starting up at the day and then going through. And he's type 2. Anybody else a shift worker? I know that I did a video on shift workers. I got some good responses from people who had never showed up on a live broadcast or had never commented but emailed me about their trials. You need a pattern that allows your mind to be at peace. That's one of the great principles of Li Ching Yun. Keep a quiet heart. When you go to bed, don't take your issues or your anger to bed with you. AD joined us. Hi, I've been doing OMAD for 3 weeks. First week I lost about 6 pounds, but week loss has slowed. I have Hashimoto's. Should I go low carb? No, I wouldn't. I would go medium carb. I would get yourself used to doing normal things. If you have true Hashimoto's, then you've looked at your T3, T4 ratios. I would make sure you're getting your vitamin D, like I proposed with sunlight at the start. Make sure you are walking to give yourself an edge. I would prioritize those things, and you should not have a problem. Do not expect fast losses, but I would put yourself in the lower calorie range. Your body will be just fine, and you'll find that it's very often a reaction to something. I would start mono-mealing. I would have meals that are simple. If you're not going to mono-meal, and by mono-mealing I mean you have like one thing, like a fatty beef patty, or a piece of a steak or roast, and it's high fat. And now the reason I'm saying this is not because I'm defending a high fat diet. I'm not. You guys know I'm a high starch, low fat person. But when you're dealing with any sort of problems like Hashimoto's or addictions or autoimmune, by limiting the types of food, your body the enzymes are able to digest better, and that helps you in the long run, and your autoimmune markers will go down. I know because briefly I had some symptoms of Hashimoto's 3 years ago. I did a video on it, but it ended up going away. I ended up going for more tests, and they said I didn't have it. So I think it was a reaction to something, but I'm not really sure. But if you decide to have a meal with bread and sausage, to give you an example, I'm just pulling one out of my butt here, you will find that you have less a reaction to that than if you have bread and fruit and French fries and chips, and of course those are junk. We could do any example. Beans, rice, fish, and corn. Those are 4 different foods. Your body will digest them with more difficulty than if you just do rice and fish, or just fish. You see where I'm going with this? So mono-mealing will be one of your key things there. You might also throw in some days where you do something like carrot and apple juice. Just do a juice. Have days where you do exclusively juice for your meal. Make sure you get enough, like a good tall portion of it. You should average about 800 to 1,200 calories in juice. And it sounds a lot, but we're talking freshly squeezed juice. Just throw that in there. And your body will start to not run into the problems that you hopefully, and you end up ahead of the game. I know so many people, they just started mono-mealing. They started doing a strict OMAD portion. They quit playing around with anything else, and they ended up owning their game because they were consistent. Your body, it's like a child. Me and my dad moving a refrigerator, and when Kayla was little, she'd come in there, and I say, "Get out of the way!" And she starts crying and goes to my mother and her mother and starts. And I'm like, "Listen, you're just in the way. We love you." That's what we do. We get in the way of our body's healing itself. Don't get in the way. Just let it get out of the way and let it repair itself. So do simple things. Make your meals simple and uneventful. I feel lethargic in the evening and sometimes take a nap. I notice taking electrolyte pills and I feel better. Should I do something differently? What time is your meal time? I think you mentioned. If you're fasting and you feel lethargic, yeah, you probably just need to push yourself to move more. Your body's not adjusting very well. Let me see. I wish there was a quick way in the command thing to look at all the posts by a person, so I could click on Honey's name and see. I have to look back here to see what you said. You've been doing it consistently. I don't see, when is your meal time? Maybe I missed it, but I'll move on. But if your meal time is consistent, I wouldn't worry about bloat. I would count on your body to start working. And you're going to have days where you don't feel good, but if you're feeling really lethargic and it's not a result of eating too much, then yeah, I would just use some teas, some herbal teas, and you should be good to go. Electrolytes, yeah, if you're, there's a 0-calorie Gatorade. I mean, if you're really worried about it. Hi, Chris Hamilton. I love going to bed empty. That makes, what, 3 or 4 of us here. Psychology of binging. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. It develops early. That's such a big topic. I got to chop it down. You guys remember my story on how I started binging. Got abused by a teacher. I had a teacher when I was 5 years old pick me up head first into a trash can. Now, first of all, what satisfaction, what kind of a person do you have to be to throw a 5-year-old in a trash can? Because I didn't do a worksheet right. And she got mad at me in front of the class, and she picked me up by the belt loop and grabbed one of my feet and just slammed me in the trash and started screaming at me. And I got quiet. And I just stood back up, and you get that feeling. You say, is this really happening? And I walked back, sat back down, and she yelled at me a little bit more from across the class and said, don't be like this, stupid kid. And I went home that night. I walked home, my little Crayola backpack, and went into that was the first day, I went into the pantry where we had this Imperial brown sugar, and I took a spoon and I just started eating. And I ate until I couldn't eat anymore. I literally got sick. And I found that each day when I thought about that traumatic event, it helped. So that was the key to binging for me. From there, I went to chocolate no bakes. When I learned to cook, I was older. And then I would have parties with pork. My dad would go out and get venison from the farm. This old Eddie, this guy, crazy German guy with a shotgun, always come out of his house on one of the ranches near San Antonio. And Dad would buy these, and I would get them, and I would start deep frying. My mother actually got me in high school a deep fryer. Come on now. I'm like wearing Metallica shirts and AC/DC shirts and frying a whole lot of crap. And I started to gain weight from it. I've shared this before I got really big. But it was a coping mechanism. The same way all binging is. Binging is a coping mechanism. It is a misadaptation, a misalignment of the purpose of your food. And sometimes, for most people don't realize it's a problem until later in life. Yeah, I can use my lips now. It's not too hot to drink. But that's, if you look at it that way, that is always the way it is. It is always the psychology of binging. It doesn't matter why. It doesn't matter the reason. It will always go back to the mechanics of a wire got crossed. Another system is having to compensate for one that isn't working. My doctor is not supposing this for me. I'm not sure I get. I've read and heard Lantus slow-acting insulin can help repair the beta cells. I don't know about that. I don't think there's a way to repair them. Maybe there is. I think there might be. But you guys know you have slow-acting and long-acting insulin. And what he's talking about with slow-acting insulin is you have 2 waves of insulin. When you eat, which is why it comes right as you get hungry, and it makes you hungry because it starts seeping into your bloodstream. Your sugar gets slightly lower, and therefore you get hungrier. And then when you eat, it releases. That's the first wave. The second wave comes later in the day and sort of glides down, up and down. It's slow-acting insulin that keeps your body stable. And that's why diabetics with no insulin response have to take a slow-acting insulin overnight, because otherwise in the morning their blood sugar will be high again because they don't have a way to keep it down. That is the reason if you're a normal person, you make those normally. If you're autoimmune diabetic, you don't make any insulin. So it's a tetherball. You're having to up, down. You're having to manage it yourself, which is a complete and total nightmare. Fasting with like reactive hypoglycemia and things like that. I do believe beta cells can repair themselves, but I don't know as far as slow-acting insulin. I'm not entirely sure. I would have to research more. Hi, Bleeding Goat. I'm so glad I started typing OMAD and the snake diet too. I combined the two. I'm currently living off of $25 for the next 2 weeks. Yikes. I'm positive I'll get through it without struggle. Still tough. There's a video a girl did online on how to live for $10 a week on food. You ought to look that up. It's a girl who did $10 a week on food. There's a way to do it. You know what? That's an awesome challenge. We should probably set that up as a group at some point. Do a video on. I know that you can do that with starches. I can do that. You just get rice and beans, and I can make that son of a gun last. I mean, you may even go all out and get a can of sardines and just to spice it up, and then for variety. But if I want a bag of rice, a bag of beans, I can make them last. In your case, you're not eating like that. It looks like that. But you can definitely find a way to do it. But that's a good video topic, actually. Ways to, and that helps with the control mindset, getting used to less rather than more. Yeah, you don't want to sit down, whoever you are. I mean, all of you guys, you don't ever want to sit down, go into OMAD and say, well, I got to tank up because I've only got 1 meal. That's the opposite of what you need. That's the scarcity mentality work in reverse. It's saying, well, since we don't have enough, we need more. It's just compensating. It's like having a bad day at work and saying, well, I haven't eaten all this time, so I need to go home and eat cake. Well, you've done the worst possible thing because you did good by controlling yourself, and then you threw it out the window by compensational eating, which is one of the big, great evils that I talk about. My boss yelled at me. I felt bad. Therefore, I deserve this pie. It doesn't work like that. No compensational eating. Getting used to less is virtue, is more. Joe Smith. Hi, Joe. I've been on OMAD for 5 days now and feel great. I'm beyond fat, but going to change that. Yes, you will. With that attitude, you will. Quick question. Do you notice during OMAD you feel more dehydrated in the mornings? I drink 3 times more water too. No, I can't say that I feel more dehydrated. Actually, I go and, pee, do whatever I need to do in the morning and then shower and weigh myself if I am weighing myself that day, if it's a weigh day. I can't say that I do. Do you have good sugar control, Joe? If you're urinating a lot, it's normal to get rid of water, especially if you're holding a lot. And since you're only 5 days in, that's probably what it is. You're peeing a lot because a lot of your weight is water weight. You were in the process of storing more fat. And that's the issue people have, is that they've been storing fat, and a lot before something is fat, it's water. So your body's collecting it in the tissues. And if you're big and puffy, and you're getting rid of all of that water, so you might drop 20 pounds of water. It's crazy how that works. I do know that if I go a couple of days and splurge on junk food, and I come back to OMAD, I'll start peeing like crazy because my body's getting rid of all that water because it's still in the process of losing, and it wants to keep me losing. Because your body will do what you've trained it to do. And that's why when you do Mission Critical, you do the first 14 days. Watch my video, first 14 days Mission Critical. No screw-ups, no cheating whatsoever. And really not for the first month. But you'll find that you keep going and it becomes much, much easier because your body wants to do what you've trained it to do. It's like conditioning yourself for a whistle or a response to, Pavlov's dog sort of thing. Your body will start responding to the cues you give. Even when you break the pattern, you'll really respond well. But that's good, Joe, that you're rocking out there. What is the snake diet? Please look it up. There is a crazy guy on YouTube who promotes a thing called the snake diet, and he's quite annoying. It's basically a certain little potion he recommends drinking and then not eating. I think it's kind of a crazy idea. There are modified versions of it with various forms of low carb or no carb diets. I think you're better off going regular OMAD and not fooling with all of that crap. That's me. Is it Remcha? Welcome back. Hi. It's good to see you from last time. Let's see. I hate it when I go to scroll down and then I just lose my place. The screen bounces up or something. It pisses me off. Those are the things in life that piss me off. It's not, oh my God, the street is out. Oh my God, there's a storm coming. Oh my God, somebody died. No, it's that I can't get that one little thing to work. That's the sort of thing that pisses me off. Okay, Bronx. So it's a surgery around the muscles, something else. Okay, you got that. Ales, 5 years OMAD now. Awesome. You are a true trooper. True trooper. My husband loses every week. He's good. Don't be upset if you don't lose every week. A lot of times, especially when you're losing less weight, and a lot of ladies, though they're higher percentage body fat, you won't. That's one of the reasons that you see the difference. It's not just hormonal sugar absorption or something. You just lose differently because of the size and calorie demand. A man with higher muscle content will have a higher calorie threshold and therefore lose more because he's using more. Sometimes women will not. Sometimes there's a metabolic issue at the heart of it, but usually it's not that way. Usually it's just there's a slight difference. And I have known ladies that lost as much or more than I did. I've told the story about that girl who's about 400 something pounds, and she lost more than I did. So per week, for she's really big gal, 5 foot and like 420 pounds. So really big gal. She lost really good. It can happen. So don't judge by the exceptions. Jennifer, I would do regular carb. I would make yourself do regular to slightly favored protein, maybe. You can also try higher carb, and to make sure you don't become. Otherwise, you're going to become too sensitive to low carb, and then you can only have low carb. That's the problem going too low carb for diabetes, unless you find that your body's too reactive. And I would like to talk with you more about that because your needs will be different from someone else. Some people can handle potatoes fine. I'm one of those. I don't feel very good on potatoes. You would think that I just love potatoes because it's a starch. I really don't. Some people do and some people don't, especially being diabetic. Some people can handle them, some people can't. Some people can eat purely vegan starch and have lower blood sugar as a diabetic. Others can. And it depends on you. What is your career? I am a director of loss prevention and security for a hotel chain here in the Houston area, actually all over the world. But I am a director of risk management. So I deal with HR, risk management, loss prevention, hiring, and as a department head for a hotel. I also do independent consulting with the same, and then now with OMAD for the last 5 years. I've been in this career since 2006, doing what I do with hotels. I work with hotels, and so I'm the guy who deals with accident claims, litigation claims. Somebody falls and breaks their arm on one of our escalators. I'm going to see that bill. I deal with employee grievance resolution. Somebody has an issue with their department manager. I end up involved in that. Termination hearings, things of that nature. So anything that involves risk and loss. So you can see the fun that I get to have. I'm a report writing, and I end up sometimes testifying for. I'm the representative of my company. So that is what I do, and I really do like it. I like the thing with me with OMAD and with this sort of thing in risk management. When the tension is high, when there's an emergency, I become like Jack Bauer. I kick into gear. Most people, they avoid stress, they avoid conflict. Me, I'm very conflict resolute. I'm very into the fray. That makes it easy for me. And those type of people have the easiest time losing weight because they're very results oriented. To me, I don't want to waste my time. Very direct. It helps. Follow your ideas. Hello there. How are you doing? Welcome back. Victoria, mono-mealing benefits most people because your body has an easier time. Try it for a week and don't feel like it's the meal that's the magic. Just limit your food choices to 2 or less. So 2 or 1. And make sure, understand there'll be a challenge, but make sure your idea is to get control. Josh mentions my video, Mission Critical. Spank your inner child. You cannot reason with the inner child. It's like we're seeing in the news lately with all this political unrest. You will never be able to reason with the outrage mobs. And all of these stupid city officials are trying to reason with these selfish, crazy little ingrates. These man children who are going and demanding this and demanding that. And then they go to help them out. And what happens? They turn around and get bit in the butt. You cannot reason with your inner child. When you start feeling the urge to quit or to splurge or to binge, understand that is the inner child. And it is completely, you take it out of the store and you spank it. What do? You get your, your kiddos in the store misbehaving. How do you handle that? Well, eventually you get to that point, you can't reason with them, and you take them out. Elena, she's 5 now, so she doesn't throw as many fits but just a year ago, we were at Six Flags, and she starts yelling with, my mother, and here she is just screaming at the counter. So we came over there. We said, "We're done with this. I'm not going to bring you back till you're 5." And we took her right out of the park and gave her a little spanking, and she wanted to go back. I said, "No, we're not going back because you cannot behave." And she learned her lesson, because when she came back and she said, "Can we go to Six Flags?" like 2 weeks later, I said, "No, we're not going. Remember how you acted last time." You have to treat your urges like a child, because that's what it is. It just wants what it wants. Can I have a candy bar? No, you haven't eaten your meal yet. How many times have you said that to your 2-year-old or 3-year-old? You say, you got to eat this first. You had it. Your parents did it to you, and then you do it to your child. It has to be that way, because otherwise they're going to fill up on sugar. Mission critical. Do not cheat. Do not follow the outrage mom. Do not follow the inner child. I've incorporated walking too. It just feels good. Yes, walking in sunlight, walking in sunlight, walking in sunlight. Walking, sunlight, and apple cider vinegar and mono-meal. Mark those down. Write them somewhere. Carve them into your bedpost if you have to. 11 a.m. Hi, Ann. Thank you, Joe. I really needed that this morning because I was really thinking about eating Chinese food today like a pig. Oh, so you want to throw all your progress away? We'll go right ahead, but here's the thing. I won't be around all the time, so you're going to need to create your own motivation. No joke. You're going to need to go about your day and realize your priorities, or sure enough, you will not succeed. But if you're really serious about getting a hold of yourself, go to that Chinese place and have a tiny, tiny little plate. Even if it's a buffet, let yourself lose money by not getting as much, because that's always the dichotomy. You go into a buffet, you have that tendency to want to get your money's worth and eat more. Go right there, sit down, have a little rice and the sesame chicken or whatever you like, and get one plate and walk out. Eat it, and 10, 12 minutes later, walk out. Are you serious about succeeding or no? I had to do that. And I remember the first time I went back to a Chinese buffet as a guy who'd been losing weight 8 months. And I remember getting flooded in my mind with that feeling of, I've got to eat so much. But I didn't. I went up there and I filled up one plate. I had sesame chicken. I had chicken with broccoli and all the stuff I liked, portioned properly on the plate to where nothing is falling off the sides. I ate just that. I had a sweet tea with the meal. I walked right out. Didn't regret a thing. Felt great because I knew that I was in charge of my food. If you go through life and you see yourself as a victim and you say, well, I've just got to follow my urges, you're just like a dog. You're just like an animal. You are not a pig, even if you sometimes feel like one. It's going to be up to you to keep the motivation. I can give it to you. You can rewatch videos. You can do all of this, but ultimately you're going to fail if you don't generate it yourself. It's like a star generating heat. It's like our planet. The reason Mars is a dead husk of a planet is because it has a silicone small core. It doesn't, and it's too small to trap heat. The Earth is much, much larger, 4 times larger, nearly, and it has a big iron core that's surrounded by potassium and argon, which trap heat, which is why we have an active tectonics and a core. That's why our ocean's plates move around. They're actually, the whole planet is alive. Mars is a dead husk. It has no tectonics. It has no volcanism. It has no magnetic field. You've got to be your own source of energy. Otherwise, you're not going to succeed. Yeah, if you go out of there and then somebody brings donuts to work and you say, oh, I'm just going to splurge, everybody's doing it. Yeah, you're going to be a sheeple. You're going to be like everybody else around you. And of course, as Debbie points out right here at the next comment, binging becomes a habit. Then once you do it, it's easier to keep doing it because you've showed yourself that that's how to do it. Your body will follow your leads the same way with any conditioning. Good or bad, your body's going to follow. I'm overweight, but with eating once a day, I feel like I'm floating with walking. Barely get tired. That's the case, and the more you master your meals, the better off you're going to be. And you're going to keep losing, and you'll keep losing, and you'll keep getting a high because your brain will reinforce with every loss what you're doing is the right thing. Pretty soon, you'll be 40, 60 pounds down, whatever you want to be, and you'll be a different person, and people will notice it. I have a guy, director of food and beverage at one of my properties here. He was a big drinking guy. I mean, he was a husky guy, and he's probably lost already 40 pounds. And he started just a month ago, or maybe 6 weeks ago. It could be done. And this guy, I never thought he'd do it. He just seemed like a guy who he enjoyed his whiskey. He enjoyed the good life. But he came to me one day. He was really upset. He said, "How do I do it?" I laid on him, what we're talking about here. Thank you for your advice. Can't wait to see my progress next week. Let's do it. Let's do it. At Joe Smith, good for you. My husband started at 220 and he's losing. So good. He was having a nice meal every day. He lost 66 pounds so far. Yep, that's a lot of weight. 320 is a big dude. I was 363. Why did Fakuti, welcome. Why you stopped drinking ACV? Because it's very acidic. After about 3 months, you don't want to keep going because it's going to drastically lower your good fats as well. It will strip your blood of any fat. So you will honestly, I have a cholesterol of 130. My total cholesterol is like 130. So or 125, I think is right. So it's very, very low. You don't want to get it too low. If you overdo acidic stuff like ACV for the long term, you can still do it twice a week or so. I find that I don't always have the juice. When I started that, I did the juice at the meal because it was an easy way to mask the taste of the ACV, of the apple cider vinegar. The reason is it's just inconvenient. I still do it about once every 2 weeks. But you need to do that. That's crucial at the start to help with digestion. And for those of you with Hashimoto's or any sort of autoimmune, ACV, you can't go wrong. Honestly, it will help your metabolism lose. You're really doing yourself a disservice if you don't do it. Any suggestions for activities during a 118-degree summer in Arizona? Nothing indoors is really open. Well, I would do morning or evening walks. Me, I love the heat. I love to. I really love it. But 118 degrees. I need to come to Arizona. I nearly did. I had an invitation from a property to come out there and help them when they had layoffs. I had a property out there that had a strike, a union strike, and they needed some managers to come out help with the hotel function outside of Flagstaff. I don't know. Is that anywhere near you? But that was back in March. What's the weather like in March? It's 118 in the summer. It's like only like what, 70 or 80 in the winter, and then quickly gets pretty warm again. I've always heard I love how those dust storms blow in. I keep seeing it on the news. I've never seen it up close, but I want to come out to Arizona at some point. How's the Mexican food out there? Really curious. I'm not as impressed with Colorado Mexican food. It's okay, New Mexico and Colorado, but I don't think it's as good as Texas. You guys know me. I'm a stickler for that sort of thing. But yeah, beyond walking, I don't know. Walking or setting up an indoor gym, like a small exercise machine. And I know that they're mostly junk, but in this case, since everything's locked down, I think you could justify doing it. Put on your headset, do your audiobooks or music, whatever you do, and dedicate to about an hour a day. You would completely change your game. If you're starting out for Cootie, I would aim for 3. I would aim for the first month or 2. You're okay for drinking ACV every day. If you're having the 2 tablespoons every day, I think you're fine. I wouldn't do more than 4. Don't do more than 4 tablespoons per day. And then after about 6 weeks, go to 3 times a week or less. But just to make sure. I think you'd be okay, but I don't want to. Again, that stuff is really changes the pH of your gut. $10 a week on food. Marachun ramen dinners. Maracan, what are they called? They're like the Nizam ones. Let me tell you something, guys, about those ramen noodle dinners. I once in a while I get a hankering for them. They're the worst food on the planet for your body. Let me tell you how I know. And this is not secondhand story. This is legit. I had a friend named Bill, and he's still in San Antonio. He owns some nightclubs there. He and I got out of high school together. He and my brother were like super tight, and he ran around and they hit on the ladies and did all this. Well, when he went through school, he went a month on nothing but ramen noodle dinners. He got sick and had to go to the doctor. They did a blood lab on him. He had almost nothing in value range. Everything, his body was tanked. And keep in mind, he did that. He said, I just want only ramen noodles. He was eating nothing but ramen noodles all this time. And he thought, okay, well, I like them. I'll get shrimp flavor one week and chicken another. And then, of course, he would drink beer because he's just a beer drinking dude. He got so sick, they had to IV him. They had to put him on like 20 different supplements because the doctor said, what have you been doing? Like he was mad, the doctor. He was like, don't do this. So the cheap noodles, not only do they not digest well, you can look this up on YouTube. This is not debated at all. It sucks out nutrients and noodles. It constipates you. It leaves also. You talk about processed foods. I'm not a health food nut, as you guys know. You can eat normal foods. That's the worst thing you can possibly eat. I occasionally have one just cause. But that's the one food. It's worse than an energy drink. It's worse than cupcakes and breads. Those little dinners are the worst possible things. Trust me on that. And guess what? He had to go for his checkup. He was still deficient, and he had never been before. I know because he once I took him to the doctor once for a flu. He was so sick he couldn't even drive. It was a year and a half later when all this happened. He had been well since then. He got a good deal of health. Now he did this for a month and a half. He went to the doctor. He was so sick, and his doctor said, "What have you been doing?" He says, "You look like a 70-year-old cancer patient. Like everything. We're not talking vitamin D. We're talking everything is tanked." And he had just a tire on him. And this was a young guy. This was a guy who was 18. I mean, you're not going to see many 18-year-olds with crap blood levels. He was terrible. I remember all this time. My mother 2 days ago reminded me, said, "Remember when Bill got sick?" And I said, yes, from those ramen noodle dinners. This was something that we actually thought about. We thought he was going to have to, they admitted him to the hospital. is how bad he got. And they put him on an IV because this is. So be careful of those. $10 a week. Think rotisserie chicken. Oh no, that would actually put you. So you'd have to do grains. I'm going to put together a video probably on that because, well, let's say $20 a week, a little more reasonable. $25 a week, you can definitely make that work. Carbs, and here's the thing, as Debbie points out, carbs are the cheap ones. You can get a bag of popcorn, you can get a bag of beans, you can get a bag of rice, and it'll go a long god darn way. If you buy a steak, oh my goodness, that right there is going to take you to the end of your rope. So you're going to have like a little slice of steak every day to keep. I wouldn't do it that way. You could do a peanut butter sandwich, fairly nutritious. One thing you got to watch about peanut butter, it is addictive. Like all nuts, you can get too many of them and they become addictive. They have an addictive quality. And it's not just like adding sugar to them. It's nuts they also have some nutrients to it. If you get too many, you'll end up noticing that you don't feel satiated and you end up eating more, and they're not a complete profile for you. So that's why I believe in keeping your ratios even. Either do a carb dominant meal, protein dominant meal. Make peace with it for that day. Don't play around too much, or you're going to end up messing with it. You can decide to stay in control. Please make a video in compensation of eating. Yeah, I'll do that. I think that's my issue. I eat a lot thinking I won't eat again, which is a problem, which is people think, well, I deserve this because I did this. I splurged over here, therefore I deserve this. You're making a deal with yourself. Because as humans, we're all socialists by nature. I say that as a conservative. We're all socialists by nature. You see somebody, you think, okay, well, they need this more than I do. That's how our brains work. So we say, well, I've been so long without food, there's nothing wrong with eating a lot today. Doesn't work that way. To make a change, you've got to ration out with your higher brain function a plan. But you can't have a plan so detailed that it's unmanageable. So you've got to go back to making peace with the decisions you make, and you have to do all of that seamlessly. So for some, it's harder than others. The less you overthink it, the better chance you have of succeeding. But you can't ignore it either. Otherwise, you're just going to follow urges. Well, following urges was what got you big, right? It's what got you out of shape. Don't worry about not eating enough to hold you over. You'll be just fine. And if you got for 10 days, for 20 days, for 30 days, way too little, you'd be just fine. So you're not going to eat too little. All you've got to do is time yourself, make sure you're eating at the next time. 11 a.m., you're not touching food. Food is not going to go on your tongue until that time. You follow that rule. Don't let yourself cheat. You'll be good. Anne says 1 bag of potatoes, 1 bag of frozen mixed vegetables, 1 large onion, 1 cluster of garlic bulb, 2 pounds of stew meat. Ooh, that's a bag of oranges and a box of cookies. 1 week of yummy oatmeal. Okay, I'll admit that sounds incredibly good. Eating to your meter. That sounds like a derivation of eat to your 80% full or something like that. That's right. It's not a bad rule. I do the get up rule that I showed you guys at the first of this video. If you can stand up very easily after your meal and you be productive, you've eaten the right amount. If you're weighed down and you got to go sit down and digest it, you probably eat a little bit too much. How tall are you, Joe? Joe Smith? You may have mentioned it and I forgot. If you're over 6, 200-ish would be a good weight. Most people, most men, especially with normal muscle content and height, are going to weigh more. I got as low as 185, and people started to say I look too skinny. So, but 340, you can knock out 100 pounds, 140 pounds. Just knock it out. Just keep going, and it'll make so much sense. Your first goal will be to get under 300, just like mine. Your next goal will be to get under 250, and then on and on it will go. Make that your mission, and don't change. And you've already succeeded. You just haven't. It's going to take a while to see the physical results. Think of it that way. Don't doubt yourself, and don't doubt that you will succeed. Nige Bray, welcome. Omar, I think you meant Omad or Keto for daisies. Not following you there. Ann says Joe employees better be on their best behavior around you. No shenanigans. No, I am. As a manager, my style is the coach. So I'm a coach. I'm not a anal retentive micromanaging type. I trust people. If you work for me, I trust you to be mature. And I manage, like right now, my immediate department here in Houston is mature men. The youngest of them is 44. So I'm not dealing with millennials. I do indirectly manage other departments that have a lot of millennials and people who are still finding themselves. But it's a world of a difference. And go to my HR channel. I'm gonna have to update it again. But I do business tips and management. But no, I'm a hands-off manager until. But I'm gonna trust but verify. I'm gonna come back and say, hey, how did we do this? Did we do this properly? What's the status on this? And I'm gonna trust you to do it. I'm not one of these managers who sets a bunch of rules for people because I don't trust you. Which, when you do that to someone as a manager, you make them untrustworthy, and they in return trust you less because they feel like they're being watched. That's my advice. Remember, I'll tell you this as a manager. Here's my philosophy: the Parkinson's law. It will be a task will be spread out over the time it takes to do it. So when you assign, if I give you a report and I say you have 3 weeks to do this report, you're going to probably do it the night before it's due. If I say this report is due tomorrow, you're going to be like, what? But you're going to do a better report and you're going to make it a priority better. Well, apply that to the workday. When you have hourly employees who come to work and they want the least work for the most pay, but managers want the opposite. They want the most work for the least pay. So there's a conflict of interest there. So what you want to instill in your employees is the desire to come to work for work. When you come here, you put aside your personal problems as much as possible and you get things done. Ask questions, because do not ever assume that people know what's in your head. So I find that I trust but verify. I say, hey, have we taken care of this? And lo and behold, if I find something hasn't been done, now I'm going to pull the leash a little closer. I'm going to say, hey, we need to work on this because we haven't been checking this area. We haven't been doing this or that. There's an issue that we need to focus on. We need to nail down on. But I trust. I'm not one of these people that ride. And if someone does something that's in bad, here's the thing. As a manager, I've never written anyone up for something I was not. I never gave somebody, said, hey, you know what? The boss is up on top, want me to write you up. I've never done that. If I ever addressed somebody for an issue, it was man to man or man to woman, as the case sometimes was. I'd be like, why the hell did we do this? And they understood if I was angry, that why I was angry. There's no technicalities. There's none of those things. I believe that you're a human being first, and you're a father, a mother, a brother, a sister first, and then you come to work. So the real challenge with employees is remembering the human dynamic. Listen, be empathetic, and understand that people will be on their best and worst days. Some days they're really just phoning it in. Other days they're really motivated. If I can work with that, that's fine. I understand I have off days too, but the best thing you can remember as a manager is understanding the importance of trust but verify. Go and ask questions. So what are we doing? And understand this: the further someone is from management, the less involved they will be. So you don't share confidential things with hourly associates. You wait until you're dealing with a fellow member of upper management, because they're not going to care as much. And I understand that. They want to go and do their thing. They want to clock out and go home. I don't get that advantage. If I get called, like I've been texted, you guys have heard my text right here. They need me to call them about something when I'm done here, because I don't have that advantage. But you're more invested. So if you can take that philosophy, if you can look for the employees that are most mentally invested and hire them. Number one, employees that communicate well, and number two, employees that are most invested to impress you, to do a good, honest day's work. They have a solid work ethic. Those are the ones that are going to do you right. Yeah, I don't mind forgiving mistakes, this and that, because I make my own. But that gives you an idea of I'm the coach. I'm kind of that's my management style. I'm pretty hands-off most of the time, unless there's a reason not to. Will diet sodas break your fast? No. Use them if you need them. If it's 0 calories, it's not going to break your fast. It's the caloric and sugar intake. If it's 0, even if it's fake sugars, David, it's not going to break your fast. I know Fung says that, and it's not true. It does not break a fast. I wish that makes me so mad. People keep saying that. It does not break a fast. The best thing about OMAD and fasting. Here we go again. I got jumped in. Jump down, I gotta find my place. Best thing about OMAD fasting is that it turns off the noise. I'm gonna do a video on that. Chris, you just gave me a video idea right there. It's noise. It's all of the confusion about eating, people bringing stuff to work. It's all of the fuzz. It's all of the noise that creates it all. Should I eat? Do I eat enough? What do I do? I want that. I want to eat it before it goes to waste. Yada, yada, yada. It's all noise. That's how you can succeed. You eat, you're done. Eating 6 times a day is a nightmare. It is. Saladium, hello. Remember, it's your brain. It's the only thing that's keeping you from jumping in. It's just your mind. It's just the goblins in your mind that are jumping out and dancing on your bed and telling you, that you need more. You can do it. Was that for Joe Smith? Was that Joe? If it's for me, I no, I definitely do not. In fact, no, I don't. Now, in terms of feeling fat, that's a mental game. There are days when I feel mentally fat. I'll look in the mirror and say, "Am I puffier today?" That's just a game. But no, it's definitely not true. But it is still true in your mind if you believe it. Even now that I'm thin, I still feel like the fat girl. Will that ever go away? I don't think so, because you're cognizant of it. It's just you're understanding how to interpret it. It's like getting a signal and realizing this signal, what it's trying to say is this. You just need to reinterpret it. I know exactly what you're saying. I think I did a video on that a while back. It's maybe time for another one. It's all in your head. It is the way you perceive yourself. Others don't perceive you the same way. You know by now, because you've done what you wanted to do. I've learned not to think that way in Debbie and Chris, and that's the difference. I've learned not to think. I think I did that just as a matter because I'm mentally kind of a connoisseur of priorities. Yeah, Palladium, it's time to make this a priority. The swollen ankles and edema and holding water like that, so hard on your heart. Honey says, please come to Arizona, very hot and dry for 3 months. The rest of the time it's cool, 70 to 80. I like that. I can deal with the heat. It's the cold. Nothing beats Tex-Mex, but it's close. It's a close second. Okay, now I really want to. Until COVID hit, I was fixing to come out there. I was actually they were going to get a plane ticket for me to come out there, and then everything went to hell. I moved back. This is why I moved back from Ohio to San Antonio. I lived here, but couldn't stand the heat. Folks, San Antonio, just like Houston, Houston is very humid, but it's less hot. San Antonio is it's like El Paso and Laredo. It is super hot. So the straight temps will hit 104, 105 regularly, plus the humidity. Whereas in Arizona, you don't quite have the humidity, but you have a hotter, it's very dry, but you have an overall hotter temp. So that's really, a lot of people do that. They tell me they come from the north, they can't stand it. They're used to a high of 85. In San Antonio, when I went down there, the high was 104. Straight temp. Heat 115 with heat index. So you go outside and it is just sweltering. And you come up here to Houston, it's less hot but more humid. Only less hot by like 3-4 degrees, sometimes 5. Makes a difference. Gene, how you doing? This is exactly what I needed to hear. Thanks for me and my bratty inner child. Well, hey, that inner child, you take that little thing out and spank it. Don't worry about anybody else watching. It's don't be afraid to make a scene. That was the way it was with my dad. I complained. I don't want to get a haircut. I don't want to do this. He'd be like, hey, you're gonna behave. You have to think like that because your mind your lizard brain is works like a child. It's impulsive. Wow, ramen noodle medical emergency. Good story. I can feel the virtual constipation. You should have been there. This was something else. Like it was not fun at all. Bronx says, I'm very serious about losing. I need the motivation because sometimes my stomach feels so empty throughout the day, waiting for one meal a day. So I'm usually replay your videos. Do what you have to do, but ultimately you cannot allow yourself to fail. You know what? At some point, I think I will try to find the videos, the World Star Hip Hop videos that I watched to keep my mind off of food. Because I've told the story a number of times. I would watch fight videos to make myself angry my first week because I was so upset by the fact that I wanted to go into the kitchen, and I felt like just doing this, I would just sit up and just want to go into the kitchen, and I would stop myself and rub my head, and I would change positions in bed, and it was hard at night in those days because it was yeah, I would just, like you talk about, pull your hair out. I would struggle so much, and I would watch these videos of people being stabbed and hurt and horrible things happening. But and then chew ice and walk around. And I would honestly do that just to get my mind off of this, off of this horrible hunger. I know how it is. It's nothing short of terrible because you lose the mojo. When you don't have that mojo, you have to create it, and then you start to re-question all of your desires. I know exactly what you're going through, but you have to do it, or you'll always be that way. There's your motivation. That's your cold motivation. Joe, as a conservative, how come you chose OMAD Revolution to call it? Because it is a revolution, because it is changing the way people think about food. You can't eat multiple times in a society with too much food. You can't not have a system in place in a society with too much food. You cannot eat multiple times a day for most people. That's why most people have problems metabolically. They have problems with everything in their life because they're out of control. The OMAD revolution means change, and revolution is uncomfortable. It's like the French Revolution. It's like the American Revolution. It is uncomfortable, and that's what this describes. Just talking about Bronx here, it's uncomfortable. This is a revolution. That's why I chose the title, and I'm glad I did. It is a revolution. We're changing the way people think, one family at a time, one viewer at a time, one family at a time. That's what it is. Thanks, Bronx. Take care of yourself. Jennifer says, eating to your meter, take blood reading, eat a meal, a food item, and take reading again 2 hours. If your sugar rises more than 4 units, then you should stay away from that meal or food item. Okay. You could do that to start if a person's struggling with blood sugar. I couldn't see that as being workable long term in any sense. Goku, if I did keto or low carb, I will gain weight that I lost after stopping doing keto. If I continue doing OMAD or lowering. Yes, that's a problem. Anytime you take out carbs, if you go back to carbs, you're going to gain weight right back. Anytime you take out a food, if you do juice fast, you're going to gain all that weight right back. Quick. You could lose 30 pounds like in a week or 2 weeks or a month, depending on what you start at with doing juices on. Bam, you'll see those low numbers in the scale. And as soon as you go to eat, the next meal, you'll be 8 pounds heavier. And then after that, you'll be 4 pounds heavier. And you'll put on 15 pounds very quickly and easily. It's the same thing with low carb. You add in carbs, bam, you're right back to where you start. Me, I didn't even lose on low carb. So I did all of that and didn't even lose 3 pounds. In 6 weeks, I did not even lose 3 pounds. So it doesn't work for everybody. It's only those of you who have sugar resistance of some sort, and honestly, you need to be practical about it because you will gain back the weight. And I did a video on this. And I had people really mad. I lost subscribers over it. They said, how dare you? I was like, no, I've told the truth. I've done always on this channel. I told the truth. It makes me so angry sometimes that people aren't. Anytime you exclude something totally, you're going to end up with trouble. That's why you have some of everything. You keep in touch with the system of life that you're in. You're on this planet. The entire planet is alive. You cannot think of it as we just evolved and we're our own creature. We're going to go in the stars. That's a logical way for scientific minds today to think, but it's wrong. You depend on the planet and the planet depends on you. It is one cell. Just because you move around on the planet does not mean you're separate from it. You're part of it. You're part of the cow. You're part of the grass. You're part of everything. And it takes so long for people to understand this. You're not independent of all the things around you. You need the magnetic field of Earth. You need the sun. You need all of these things. And that's what people are slowly finding out. That's why you can't get to another star right now. We're not ready for that. We go off the planet. Everything is trying to kill us because you need the planet to stay alive. You don't have the gravity. You don't have the radiation protection. You don't have anything outside of what you're getting. So a little bit of a rant there, but you guys get it. I'm preaching to the choir. I have to tell those goblins this is my fasting. I'm not listening to you goblins. Good point. Yes, you have to think of it as a demonic little thing because it has the same effect. It's something that comes over you and then you're watching yourself do it. You're like, what am I possessed? It's a very good way to think of it, really. Crowd consciousness. I have a video coming on Dan and Fran Keller. They were the satanic panic victims, 2 of them. It's horrible. I mean, it comes over you. And it's like possession, crowd consciousness. It's like you start to do things and overeating can be that way. Maple soda. I've managed to lose 8 pounds in the last 3 weeks. Good job, Palladium. Up your game. You can carve right into it. Joe, what did you tell yourself during times you wanted to quit? That I would always be if I always did what I did before, I would always have what I had, because it's the same thing. Put in what you get. It's the law of productivity. You put in what you get out. And I realized if it were easy, everybody would do it. I can have it, just not now. Those 3 things that I just gave you. Anne says, if you were married, would you make your wife? Actually, I was married. I'm divorced. The lady I have in my life right now is a girlfriend. She would never do OMAD. I tried to do OMAD, and I never had, at the time, I was not as wise as I am now, so I didn't do it very long. I did it a few times and then lost weight and then ended up gaining it back because I wasn't mentally ready. It's like a lot of people find the channel. She would never attempt it because she was an only child. She was very possessive. She was very controlling, and she was the world's worst compensational eater. So she would instantly go toward picking out because something bad happened, because a teacher at work said something bad to her or didn't support her. She would come home with a bunch of Kit Kats, and then I would join her. You were bad. And we both gained a lot of weight. And then she became pre-diabetic. And her health really started to go downhill. But her mind, and this is why I say it goes back to the mind, because I could always do it, but she could never master her inner demons, which were me. And I'm not talking crap about her. She was right about things about me. We parted ways semi-amicably. It was a little bit bitter, but we did part ways. We don't talk anymore. She's still in San Antonio. She's, I hope she's happy. We haven't talked since 2013 when I started OMAD. I had lost, the last time we talked, I had lost about probably 30, 40 pounds. I was on my way down in 2013. I think August or September was the last month we didn't have anything to do with her. But there was, she was very unhappy, and I really hope she's happy. Thanks for your no BS approach. Hey, I know no other way, my friend. I really appreciate your understanding psychology of a binge eater. I'm 40 pounds down, 24 plan. Could see myself transitioning to OMAD. Sam, you definitely can. Decide what works for you. Make sure you're making progress. Anything you're doing. That's my advice. Don't let it be an excuse. Make sure that you're not saying, "Oh, I need to moderate. I need to do this." Just keep going down, and then you'll get to where you want to be. I know that it's so easy to make excuses in the name of being healthy, in the name of feeling better. It's just so easy. My family, my work. It's so easy to let excuses come away. Forget the excuses. All right, Deb. Thank you. If you guys haven't taken up on his personal consultations, you really should. Deb knows. I consulted with Deb when she started 80 pounds ago, and she's rocking out with her channel, Debbie OMAD. Everybody, I think, knows about her, but if you don't, go check it out. See you later, Debbie. This is what I am trying. 24. I have been doing it for the last week. My weight is on Sunday, so I will have to see how it works. What time period did you lose the 40 at Sam shift? John says, I see you as a systems thinker, and the window of eating is the system to follow. I agree with you on not cutting out food groups. I do, however, feel better on low-carb foods, and that's an adjustment you make. You're right. I am a mad scared. So I'm an angry analytical versus a scared mad who is an analytical IT person who gets frustrated. So my dominant is my dominant quality, and then my analytical quality. So I am an analyzer, but I'm a dominant analyzer. So meaning I get to a point, and then my analytical ends and my dominant takes over. So I make decisions quickly and still with fairly little thought once I get to a point where I know that that's right. And that is a balance that I have. That's what allows me to get results in every area of life, because I can set a goal and keep it. If a person is too analytical, they're going to struggle with not being able to make a decision because they'll never have enough information. It's like a chess computer that plays. Eventually, it has to stop and say, I can't search too far, because otherwise it's going to search forever. You get to a point where you have to make a decision. I get to a point, I'm very impatient, so I get to a point, I make a decision. Sometimes it's not the right decision, but it's what I end up deciding to do. But you curb what works for you. Mine is a starch-based approach. That's more often than not my go-to food. What would you teach kids as they grow up so that they have healthy relationships with food? That is a huge topic. Let me do a video. Rather than, I would teach them, in short, everything here. I would teach them not to eat to compensate. I would teach them not to eat to take back the power. And I would teach them that they need very little, because most people do. And I would show the example as a parent. If you're a parent, you don't give your kids problems on their weight. You instead do with them whatever you're proposing to do. Otherwise, you will create an image disorder. And that's another thing. Kids that are heavier. Odds are they're heavier because they eat more. And I know people want to say, well, it's their genetics. No, it's really not. Most of the time, it's not their genetics. But I'm going to do a video on that because that's a bigger topic. Chris, you are on fire today. I'm getting all these good topics from you. I've already had like 2. I'm going to have to go back through this and Like actually pull up a Word doc here and start writing them down. Dr. Bernstein. I had a Dr. Bernstein when I was like 3 to 5 years old. He was not until 10 years old. Dr. Bernstein died. I'm not familiar with that. Let me see about this. I don't know. So I really don't know about it. I'll deal with it in another live stream since I need to study it. Is that what it is? 6 times a day? No, I wouldn't. Yeah, I'll have to research that, but I didn't know about that. Yes, Steve is amazing. I love working with him. Steve Sisler. He's the guy who introduced me to the life-changing consultation I do, and he's truly amazing. For those of you who don't know, I've mentioned him before, and I have his book. He is truly a behavioral savant. He's truly a genius. If you doubt it at all, you'll quickly. He's one of the greatest alive today with behavioral profiling and psychology. He's a master. In most respects, I consider myself his student. I'm in my 20s. I tried eating 6 times a day to lose weight, and everyone was making fun of me, and I didn't even lose weight. Yeah, I've tried multiple. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. You would have to just go crazy in your lifestyle with activity to make it work. I have heard of people in aerobics doing it, but I always hear stories. I never see any results. Joe, with COVID, I see people at the store buying so much junk food, and everyone is home and not going out. I think we're going to have so many people who are going to end up with bad eating habits. Well, not just bad eating habits, they're eventually going to be broke, and then they're going to go out and commit crime, which is part of why this stupid lockdown business has been disastrous. And now, by the way, I'm going to do this in a video. Oleander supplements they're using, the White House is recommending. Don't do it. Don't try anything oleander-based. Oleander sap is lethal to humans, and it's going to cause all sorts of toxic issues. So if you hear anybody promoting this oleander stuff, oleander sap, oleander product of any kind causes blindness, it causes death, it causes neurological paralyzation. Please don't do anything do not do any vaccines that are being hastily pushed out by the government. I'm going to tell you that here. If you're outside of the U.S., you're one of my international people. Be careful what you're going. I wouldn't do any of this stuff personally. It's your decision, but be careful because they're doing this in haste because they're worried, because they're afraid. And when people do things out of fear, they make disastrous decisions. Hi, Tina. Would 500 calories a day be okay? Ooh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You'd lose weight. But if you're also you don't need to go that low. I would do about 600 to 800 to 1100, depending on. I would be careful. You need to be attentive on the road. So I would say don't go less than about 650. I did on my lower calorie days. I had a few low, but aim for 1100. I don't want to tell people a calorie number because I don't know all of your but I know that you should be able to be functional, immediately break off, and be functional. Whatever amount of food that is for you, usually it will be more than that. And you should be fun. You should be able to get up and think and be alert. You should not be tired and strung out after your meal. So that's kind of been the way I've done it. And I can tell myself if I went in there and ate a pizza yesterday. I ate a half a pizza. And I felt fine because I can digest it. And I had a couple cookies. It wasn't a healthy meal. I don't recommend it. But I felt fine and I had worked out. So I feel good. But if you need to know yourself. If you're in control, and you can feel that at the meal. That's another thing. You can feel if you're in control at the meal or if you're going to let yourself go and binge until you're sick. You can just feel it. But yeah, truck drivers, hey, stay out of the states that have defunded the police, and that's what a lot of them now these delivery companies are saying if there's no police, we're not making deliveries because you're in danger. A lot of truck drivers get attacked. I bet you could probably tell me more about that than I've heard. I've had so many tell me that. People I've consulted with who were in the same situation as you. Palladium, are you have normal blood sugar levels? Just out of curiosity. We'll cut it off at about 1:45 here. We're an hour and 40 minutes. We'll cut off we're in 5 minutes. So start to wrap up with any questions you have for this week. Here's the thing with the diabetes and weight loss. The connection's not really there. I know people want to say that it is. It isn't. It is if your diabetes it's caused by an overrun system with too much food and your inability to handle it, your diabetes will go away quickly. If it stays with you, then it's something that's genetically yours. And that's why the people that don't have it the people that don't have it usually won't get it, even if they're big. That's why a lot of people who are huge, they don't have diabetes at all. They have normal sugar levels as anyone else. And that's what the doctors don't tell you. Though it is a good idea the older you get to have less weight for many reasons, not just diabetes. Okay, so Palladium, you don't even know. I would think at some point you need a full blood panel because you need to know what you're facing. Take care, Chris. Thank you so much for stopping by. You've been a super trooper today and giving me some good stuff here. Okay, honey, good to have you along. As far as the feeling low energy, you're going to feel low energy. You're going to have to adjust, and that's why you're going to count on your body. You're going to have faith in your body to be able to supply you with what you need. Yes, it will be hard, but you will adjust. Massachusetts is pushing for mandatory vaccines, and there is a protest rally being held at the state. Yes, it's not going to happen. You got to stand up, or stand up or get out of there. Dr. Shiva is running for an MA Senate seat as a Republican, is rallying against the vax. He needs to. Whoever Dr. Shiva is, I'm not really familiar. If you guys want politics, go to my channel, Tea Party Joe, my YouTube channel, Tea Party Joe. We're going to start getting more active on a political front. I mean, for those of you interested, maybe some of you don't care. Some of you are international. Thanks, Sam. Thanks so much for, I'm looking forward to hearing updates from your success. I know you're going to knock it out. Do I eat the one meal in one sitting? No, you want to do it in one sitting so that your body's able to get back into fasting. You want one small controlled meal digested as easily as possible. Here's what I'm suspecting, Palladium. You have perfect blood sugar control. Yours is all mental, which means you need to go on a higher sugar routine, a normal sugar routine, and you will find that you will lose more. You'll be like me. You'll lose more if you have normal to higher sugar concentration because your body is going to have a normal response. But the trigger is going to be on your brain. It's going to be a shock to you, and you're going to have all sorts of nightmares. Your body's going to have to cope with the fears and the phobias underlying your struggles. And that's why I see that's your challenge. Your challenge physically, you'll lose the weight. I think you're struggling mentally with other things from things that you've said. So I would love to be able to sit down with you if you decide you want to consult with me, and we can unpack more. I believe it. Everything you've said suggests it's all in your head. It has nothing to do with your inability. And that's why I find so many people, folks, they get diabetes and they say, well, my family didn't have it. How did I get it? It doesn't have anything to do with that. Your body's ability to digest fats and sugars is kind of the same. You'll know if you have troubles because it'll be ongoing. In your case, Palladium, it's not that way. It's just in your mind. And that's the hardest thing to conquer. It is a monstrous force in your brain that is what you will have to come to terms with. And I've known people like you. And in fact, another one is she'll be on my podcast soon when I get back to doing the podcast. She's in Massachusetts, as it turns out, and is struggles with it. She's very artistically, musically inclined, like you, Palladium. She's very, very smart. theatrical, and her biggest struggles are those sorts of things. And so, but that's harder than all the others, because you know that your mind is running simulations that are not accurate. It's like a diet schizophrenia. It's you feel like you need something to sustain you. You need to be part of something that you don't. That is the challenge. Well, folks, let's close out for today, because otherwise we're going to be here a very long time, and I'm going to have a few things to get to. Maria, you missed. We're closing out here. What is the matter? Hi, good to see you. Very quickly, if you have a question, I got to close out. I got a storm, Tropical Storm 14, if you want to follow in the news, is approaching Houston, the Houston area, over the next few days. Started at 400. Guy Clear says, thanks, Joe. You keep me motivated. Started at 410. Way to go. You are already a super inspiration to all. John Boston. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Salady. Here we are closing out, and everybody just comes in. You're at work. Hey, reach out to me, Maria. I'll look from the email. You mentioned Tea Party Joe is the other channel. I know you mentioned it in the comments. I didn't get a chance to reply. Thank you all for your great success. Keep inspiring each other, and we will talk on the next live stream.